Ancient Dina reveals why Iranians and Arabs are drastically different. For a long time, people outside the Middle East have lumped Iranians and Arabs into the same category as if they share one history, one ancestry, one culture, and one identity. But Ancient Dina is exposing something far more complicated and honestly far more fascinating. The genetic story buried beneath deserts, mountains, and ancient ruins reveals that Iranians and Arabs followed dramatically different paths for thousands of years before modern borders or modern religions even existed. And the craziest part is that many of these differences were already forming before the pyramids were built. We are talking about migration so old that entire civilizations rose and collapsed before these populations fully mixed with the outside world. The other evolved through desert survival, tribal expansion, and isolation that lasted for thousands of years. And once you see how geography shaped these populations differently, the modern cultural differences suddenly make much more sense. Iran was never just another Middle Eastern civilization. Ancient Persia sat at the crossroads of Central Asia, the Caucasus, South Asia, and Mesopotamia. That location changed everything. For thousands of years, waves of migration moved through the Iranian plateau, carrying new languages, technologies, and genetic influences from multiple directions. Ancient Dina shows that populations living in what is now Iran mixed with groups connected to early farmers from the Zagros Mountains, steppe populations from the north, and ancient peoples linked to parts of Central and South Asia. In simple terms, Iran became genetically layered over thousands of years, like a civilization standing in the middle of a giant human crossroads. What surprises many people is how ancient the Iranian genetic continuity actually is. Scientists studying ancient remains from the Iranian plateau discovered that many populations living there today still carry strong genetic links to some of the region's earliest agricultural societies. That means parts of Iranian ancestry stretch back incredibly far with surprising continuity. In some regions, ancient Dina patterns survived invasions, empires, and conquests that completely transformed other parts of the world. Think about how many powers crossed Persia throughout history. Alexander the Great invaded it. Arab armies conquered it. The Arabian Peninsula tells a different story entirely. Ancient Dina from Arabia suggests that populations there were shaped heavily by desert adaptation and long-term tribal structures. Large sections of Arabia remained relatively isolated for thousands of years because survival itself was difficult enough without massive incoming migration. Water scarcity changes human movement dramatically. Fertile river valleys attract civilizations and trade empires. Massive deserts often slow them down. As a result, Arabian populations develop differently from populations living in Persia or Mesopotamia. Researchers have found genetic signatures linked to ancient Arabian hunter-gatherers and pastoralist groups that remained distinct for very long periods. One of the biggest misconceptions people have is assuming language equals genetics. It does not. Two populations can speak related languages while carrying very different ancestral histories. Ancient Dina research keeps proving this over and over again across the world. Iran is one of the clearest examples because Persian culture survived even after the Arab conquest introduced Islam into the region. Persians adopted Islam, but they retained their language, literary traditions, historical identity, and much of their older population structure. That is why modern Iranian identity still feels culturally distinct from Arab identity despite sharing religion with much of the Arab world. The roots go far deeper than politics or modern nationalism. Another fascinating difference comes from Indo-European ancestry. Ancient Dena suggests Iran received significant influence from steppe-related populations connected to Indo-European migrations thousands of years ago. These migrations played a major role in spreading Indo-European languages across huge parts of Eurasia. Persian belongs to the Indo-European language family, placing it linguistically closer to languages like Kurdish, Hindi, Russian, and even English than to Arabic. That fact alone surprises many people because modern maps often hide how ancient these separations really are. Arabic belongs to the Semitic language family, which followed an entirely different historical development. Geography also shaped psychology, social systems, and political organization in different ways. Ancient Persia developed large imperial bureaucracies, urban centers, monumental architecture, and centralized governance very early. Persian empires became known for administration, taxation systems, road networks, and massive multicultural states. Arabia historically relied far more on tribal alliances, kinship structures, and survival networks adapted to desert conditions. That does not mean one civilization was superior to the other. They simply evolved under very different pressures. One thing that makes this topic sensitive is how modern politics constantly distort ancient history. People often try to use genetics to prove superiority or purity, but real human history does not work like that. Ancient populations mixed constantly. Borders changed repeatedly. Entire civilizations rose and disappeared. Even populations that remained relatively continuous still absorbed outside influences over time. Ancient Dina is not proving that one group is more authentic than another. It is simply revealing that Middle Eastern populations followed very different historical journeys shaped by geography, migration, climate, and civilization. And honestly, the deeper scientists dig into human history, the harder it becomes to fit humanity into simple categories. What makes these discoveries so fascinating is realizing how much ancient history still lives inside modern populations today. Languages, traditions, identities, and even certain genetic patterns carry echoes of decisions and migrations made thousands of years ago by people who had no idea their descendants would one day analyze their DNA in laboratories. Ancient Persians building early civilizations in the Zagros region could never imagine modern scientists uncovering evidence of their ancestry. Ancient Arabian tribes crossing desert trade routes could never imagine researchers reconstructing migration patterns from tiny fragments of bone. Yet, here we are. Modern technology is uncovering stories buried so deep in time that they almost feel unreal. And perhaps the most important lesson from ancient Dina research is this. Human history is never simple. The Middle East was never one single civilization moving in one single direction. It was a giant crossroads filled with different peoples adapting to radically different worlds. Mountains shaped some populations. Deserts shaped others. Empires connected them. Religions transformed them. Trade mixed them. But beneath all of that complexity, ancient Dina still preserves traces of the older stories hidden underneath modern identities. And the more scientists uncover, the clearer it becomes that the history of Iranians and Arabs was never the same story at all.